Gadget UK here again, and this time looking at the 3DO Memory Expansion. So this is the, as you can see, the FZ-EM256. These are quite hard to get hold of. I think they were only manufactured and sold in Japan. Well, sold in Japan. I'm guessing they were manufactured over there as well. It would make sense. I don't think there was any sort of European or US products for, you know, backing up your saves. Now the 256 designates 256K, I think. So the memory that's on board, you know, the battery-backed memory that's on the 3DO is 32K. So you can hold a fair bit of data on this. I'm surprised at the size and the weight of this. Actually, it's pretty big. It's a bit like you know, a floppy drive sort of sized thing, really. You know, and obviously it connects to the 3DO via this little cable here. It's a bit dirty. I'm going to need to clean it up, both, you know, inside and out, I think. I'll take this apart afterwards, just because I'm curious to see what's actually in here, because it is very large. You know, you would think, you know, 32K, yeah, there could be quite a few 32K chips. That might be why it's that large. It could have one 256K chip, or, you know, a couple of 128K chips. It might just be one of these psychological things where they felt they needed to build something relatively big. It'll be interesting to see what's inside there. It'll also be interesting to see how easy it might be to replicate the functionality of this. Bear in mind the connector there is a bit non-standard. I'm not sure what you would replace that with. Whether there's anything off the shelf that could do exactly that job, I'm not sure. But it would be interesting to see inside it nonetheless. But in the first instance, I'm going to connect this up to the 3DO. I've got a couple of discs that have got the backup software, because there's nothing built into the 3DO. It's kind of an afterthought, really, by Panasonic. Well, not really Panasonic, because Panasonic were one of the companies that manufactured the 3DO, but the company that behind the 3DO. So yeah, I've got the Game Guru that apparently supports backup devices, and Wolfenstein 3D. There are many other games and things, and some of the demo discs and things that came out for the 3DO had a backup memory manager on there as well. So we're all connected up there. I'll show you this connector in a minute. It only goes in one way on the back. It's got an arrow on the top. I'll show you that. So we'll power it up and see what happens. So powered up as normal. Obviously you wouldn't expect to see any difference in behaviour, and obviously it's just waiting for a disc. So I think we'll try the game. Let's try Wolfenstein. I was going to say Game Guru. Let's try Wolfenstein. So after a bit of messing around there, you can see I've managed to get the storage manager. Now, the way I had to do this, well, obviously I had to burn it. I couldn't find an original disc anywhere. And the game I mentioned at Wolfenstein, it does have a save manager, but it doesn't support the storage expander, as you can see up here. This has appeared since I connected it, because I booted initially without the the M256 connected, and all I saw was here, built-in storage. And then once I've connected the expander, powered it on, booted up again, obviously we've got this section here. So you can see there's 3 saves on there. An awful lot of is used, actually. It says 247. Oh, it's storage expander 1. Maybe you can switch through slots or something on it. I'm not sure. So I have no idea what I'm doing here at all. I can move up and down. I can copy. How do you remove? Removes A. Right. Okay. So theme park is on the expander. Let's remove that. Yeah, remove. And I had to burn at single speed, by the way. It's just that long since I've burnt a disc for a 3DO, I couldn't remember. But yeah, these the initial ones are burnt. We're not reading very well. Burnt at single speed is fine. So yeah, we're back to the whole, you know, burn speed makes a huge difference on some of these old systems. And I'm just using like Maxell discs here, or Sony discs. They read fine. It's just need to be burnt at single speed. So it's a storage expander hash 1, 152 use, 326163. Now that makes me think it's 32K. If you look at the size, you know, the overall size, 32K, is the same as the built-in storage. So there must be some way to change that hash 1 to hash 2. I'm not sure. I just pressed RB there. We've got some additional options. P, what's P? P switch. Oh, there we go. So we got storage expander 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Obviously a theme park fan here. 8. Gex. There's some Gex stuff there. Back to 1 again. So that's quite nice the way that works. You've got 8 slots. So I may as well just. I'm going to remove these. I'm never going to play these saves for someone else's. Remove. Yep. Go to the next slot. So quite why someone saved the same thing multiple times remains to be seen. It seems a bit bizarre. You surely just stick on one. Having said that, maybe you're limited. You can only have one save per system, or per person who's playing it. So I could see the benefit there of switching between the slots. Actually, there's multiple people. Each person has a slot of their own, but you can see that's completely wiped now. So I'm going to back up my saves here. So that's nice. Can you see down here? Some of the save managers I've seen are very cryptic. All you see is the stuff here, which is the data that's probably stored within the the SRAM itself. With a short code of maybe, I don't know, 15 characters or something there. It's not very long at all. So some of them are a bit cryptic. Alone in the Dark is obvious. Alone. Drive, it could be anything, but it says down here overdriving. I don't remember having a game called Overdrive, and I suspect that's probably Need for Speed, actually. And then obviously some of them, it doesn't really know what it is. No comment. That's Space Hulk, and that's obviously Wolfenstein 3D. So I'll just copy my Alone in the Dark stuff across here. So the way we do that is B to copy, it's instant, which is what you'd expect. They're very small. So yeah, nice and easy to use. And you can see there, so it's pretty full. We're down to, just from those few copies there, we're down to like 97, sorry, I'm covered up, 97 bytes free, at which point I could then go over to, I can change there as well, that's strange. Why has that got 8 slots? Oh, I'm really confused. Yeah, you can change the left hand side to show the storage expander panes as well, which is a bit confusing. But yeah, I could go to the next slot there and I've got 32k free. So in theory, I can now wipe the saves off my system, and I've got space there for other games and things to play, and I've still got my backups of Alone in the Dark when I want to go back to play that. So that's quite cool. So before I test that memory expansion, I just thought I'd show you quickly here Wolfenstein 3D, because obviously I tested this thinking I'll use the memory manager in this, but I'm pleasantly surprised at what a great port this is. As you can see right from the start here, you've got the original 30 levels, then you've got Escape from Wolfenstein, Operation Eisenfast, I can't say it, Die if you're a Die, A Dark Secret, Trail of the Madman, and Confrontation. So you've got a load of extra content there. Yeah, use left and right, it says next and previous, but press up and down. So we'll just do the original 30 levels, we'll just do bring them on as the difficulty. I've got fond memories of this game because this is one of the first, this was pretty much the first FPS on a PC, and I was obviously big into the PC scene at the time. But you can see what they've done is they've not done a lazy port here, they've sharpened up the images. Look how detailed those are. Just watch the character images, hang on. When you get close, just look at the detail. It's phenomenal. What a great port. Everything's got like really nice smooth round edges and things as well. The sound's crystal clear, the music's fantastic. So I can see myself going through this actually and playing this, despite it being a really old game. It's a really good port. So in order to get inside it, I think I'm probably going to need to take out those two, that one, and those two. Not sure if that's a security screw there, or it's just got a bit of dirt in it. It looks like it could be a bit of dirt, but it also looks like it could be a tri-wing or something. No, it wasn't a tri-wing, it was just a bit of dirt, I think. And I think the reason there's no screw in this corner is because of these two here. So I just get the last screw out there, hopefully the lid should come off now. Yeah, that's coming off. So it's all shielded. Wasn't expecting that. Hopefully we'll be able to get this off. It's not going to be soldered on. Trying to stop my cat from eating these screws here. So I'll need to unscrew there, obviously. I'm not sure what else is holding that in, actually. So we'll just see if that comes off. Yeah, it does actually. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, Panasonic. This has got a battery in it as well. So yeah, and it's like I suspected, some larger chips here. I think we've got, looks like 3. One of these could be a ROM actually. I suspect those two are SRAMs, perhaps 128k each, and I think that could be a ROM, perhaps used by this IC here. So yeah, it's not the sort of thing you could easily replicate. It's not like there's just some SRAM at the end of the connections here. So ultimately that battery's going to need swapping out. It looks like a CR2032. It looks like it says CR236 25664, which is a bit unusual. It's 3 volts. It looks like, oh, it's a bit bigger. Can you see it's a bit deeper than a 2032? So yeah, and that would make sense with the 6.4. It's twice the height. So it is a CR2364. But yeah, I could swap that out with something similar. I'll measure it in a minute just to make sure it's still 3 volts. It's probably okay, I would think. So a quick zoom in there, you can see that ASIC. It's got the 3DO symbol on the side of it there. So yeah, you know, it's custom to this. And they've got the 3 chips. I'll just give you a close-up of those. That looks like, yeah, those look like SRAMs to me, let's say 128k each, I think. And I think that could be an SRAM as well, actually. I suspect that's a ROM. I suspect that's a ROM, actually, from the part number there. It just looks very similar to some of the larger DIP type ROMs I've seen in the past, certainly on MVS boards and things, the Toshiba ones start with TC. So I think that's a ROM for this. There must be a little MCU or something in there, which I guess makes sense. What's this little thing down here? Don't know. Can't see. There's a part number there for you to look at. 74HC138. Is that a MUX or a DMUX? 74HC00. NAND, I think. 74HC04. Is that a NOT? I'm not sure. And then obviously these little inductor capacitor combinations. That's what the LC I think is. Yeah, it's going to have an inductor and a cap, you know, just to filter out any high frequency noise off the edge of the connections coming in here. But yeah, that's it really. I doubt there's going to be anything underneath, perhaps apart from some resistors and caps and stuff. You can see some little resistor networks there, small little things. So just measuring between the ground there and the top, which is the positive, you can see 3.76 volts, so that battery's still good after all this time. So I did have a quick look underneath the board there. There's nothing at all, no components, just traces and things. So I'll just reassemble it and just test it, make sure it still works, clean it up. So just a bit of soap and water. Now I'll perhaps just give it a wipe with some that back to black stuff. It just gives it a nice shine now on these black plastics. There's a little mark there that might come off with a bit of IPA. I'll go at that in a minute. You don't really want to use IPA on here because some of this is probably printed. You don't want to wear it off. Just a bit of, look how dirty that is. Jeez. I'm glad I actually decided to wipe this down. Actually, it's filthy. Yeah, it's a bit starting to get a bit clean. It's pretty dirty on the sides again. Look at that. Yeah, I'll go and wash my hands after this, I think. Speaking of which, my nails have been cut. You'll notice in some of the videos my nails tend to get quite long, and then I just forget to cut the damn things. It's you know, it's just yet another job. Yeah, so most of the muck's cleaned off there now. I'll try not to damage that serial number because it'd be nice to keep that on there. I'll just give the plastic of the connector a wipe here just to get any muck off the actual plastic part. Clean up that cable because that cable's looking pretty dirty actually. It's on the edge there, like some dirt's got into that recess. And the usual cable clean here just to get any muck off that cable. It's only a short cable. I mean, it needs to be really because you've got digital data, you know, it's a digital interface. The last thing you want is a huge long cable. But it is, you know, you've seen the caps and inductors in there to, let's say, protect against EMF and stuff, noise. And then you've got one of these toroid things here, you know, again to help with noise. And it's a short distance. So the final thing with bits of plastic like this, black plastic in particular, is just get a bit of silicon wax on there, and you see it gives it a nice shine back. I know some people use other things like WD-40 and polish. I wouldn't use WD-40 because it's a solvent, but something like this, it's ideally suited to that. You see, it's pretty good actually. Just that mark there, I'm not that bothered. I could perhaps clean that off with a bit of IPA, but you know, it's not perfect. It's a bit battered up compared to some of the ones on eBay. These are pretty pricey. I paid about £50 for this shipped, but then about £14 import fee, so I ended up, you know, 60 odd quid, 65 quid. It's a lot of money, but they are quite rare. You know, it's like it's another one of these supply and demand things. The ones on eBay that are there, the boxed ones with the disc and everything, you'll see between 100 as a minimum, up to £250. So they're very hard to get hold of, although there are 4 or 5 on there, which suggests that maybe they're not as rare as you think. It's just people holding out for maximum amount. So if you want one of these, maybe just look like I have for one that's not boxed, because you can just burn the disc yourself. It's very easy to find one of the memory managers, and you save an awful lot of money. I mean, who needs the box really? I guess unless you're just one of these, collectors that likes to have everything boxed and complete. And with the connector there, I use a bit of a WD-40 for cleaning things like that. Can you see? It's got all that muck off there. I'll just go around and just do all of the metal parts of that. Sometimes it's worth getting some contact cleaner, or even WD-40. I know people don't, there's lots of people out there frown against using things like WD-40 because it contains a little bit of oil. It's a solvent, but it also has a little bit of oil in there as well. But for connectors and things like this, it's generally okay. I don't know whether I'd use it in a cart slot. Some people do use it in cart slots, and they swear by it. It's an interesting point actually that I'll make, is that certainly on cartridge-based systems like my MVS cards, for example, if I just leave them for a few months and then come to use them, they've always oxidised. No matter how I've cleaned them in the past, they've always got oxidisation. And what I did recently is that one of them I cleaned, instead of cleaning with just IPA, I cleaned with IPA and then I used a bit of WD-40, and that particular cart has not re-oxidised, and the cart works fine. So maybe you should consider putting something like that on connections like this, despite the fact it's got a very, very small amount of oil in there. Now the oil doesn't conduct between the pins it's nearby, and it doesn't cause any problems with connectivity. In fact, it was designed for that. I think was it NASA or someone commissioned it or something originally. It was used on the space shuttle and various other places. I think for you removing moisture in the first instance, because it's the solvent side of it, but also, let's say, it lubricates mechanical things, but also it doesn't interfere with electrical things. So anyway, that's my experience of it. I don't use it everywhere, like I say, but connectors I typically will use it on, and I think I'll perhaps just give that a quick blast with the WD-40 there and then just wipe it all down. I gave into that white mark, it was annoying me, so I just removed it with a bit of IPA. You can see it's gone. But yeah, that's looking sweet now. So in terms of connecting up here, you can see the arrow on the top here, and it wants to go face upwards towards you. You can see the expansion text there upside down, so the arrow faces upwards like that. And then once plugged in, obviously you could sit it to the side of the 3DO, or in my case, I just want to sit it on top whilst I'm using it. So after saving a few times with Wolfenstein on the internal memory there, you can see that's my save and my preference of the Wolfenstein 3D, and I've still got everything I saved before to the the expander there, storage expander. So yeah, it's definitely working. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.